Earlier today, the Pokémon Company had a live stream to celebrate Pokémon Day. In this live stream, they showed several new projects and an update on Legends Z-A, which was announced last year. After watching the trailer, I want to get my thoughts out on the game and how it looks like. It's no secret that the recent Pokémon games has had a bit of a quality difficulty in the past years. Scarlet and Violet ran horribly and it looked quite awful in the trailers. And even Legends Arceus had some really awful frame rates in the early trailers. A lot of people were hoping that the longer development cycle of Legends Z-A would mean that the game would look and run better than the previous Pokémon games that has been released recently. It's a very reasonable complaint since the Pokémon franchise makes so much money. You would expect them to be able to make games that look better than the PS2 era. So, has this improved in Legends Z-A? Well, I'm gonna say yes and no. Or well, no is probably not accurate because I do think it looks better than Scarlet and Violet and Legends Arceus. But I do think that if you compare it to other video games, Pokémon still really falls behind when it comes to the graphical fidelity in the games. One of the things in the trailer that looks the most visually disappointing to me would be that the buildings look incredibly flat and the geometry on the buildings are very simple. Most of the buildings has only one texture on it and it's just copy-pasted on the entire building, it feels like. Since this game only takes place in the city, I feel like it's more valid to complain about stuff like this since you're going to be looking at this basically the entire time that you're playing the game. And yes, the overall graphical quality is definitely a step up from the previous games. But at the same time, as I just said, it just takes place within the city, so the scope of the game is quite smaller, so you would expect them to make the graphics better. Not to forget the extra dev time that they have on this game as well. I do think that the extra dev time has done a lot of great work here though, because you can clearly tell that there aren't as many frame drops as were present in the previous trailers for the previous Pokémon games. They've clearly optimized the game way more than the previous ones. There are no windmills at, 5 FPS or no Pokemon moving at a third of the frame rate to everything else. It looks cool. Something that looks great in this trailer is how expressive a lot of the Pokemon look in their animations in the trailer. The Pokemon are the main selling point of this franchise. Very shocking, I know. So I think it's great that they're working on stuff like this to make you enjoy the Pokemon even more. You'll be able to climb up on the roofs in this game. I've seen a lot of people compare this to Assassin's Creed, but the last time I played Assassin's Creed, I didn't step on a yellow arrow to teleport up to the roof. I actually had to climb the building. So I don't think that's an accurate representation, but it's pretty cool that you can go up on the roofs, I guess. The roofs don't look very visually appealing though, so I worry a bit that it won't be fun to explore. They seem to be implementing sort of a new battle system in this game, where you can move around and dodge attacks with your Pokemon. This is a great step for the franchise, and it's fun that they're trying new risks in the game. I wonder how different this is actually going to pan out being, but it's fun that it's something new at least. When watching the trailer, it seems like they managed to dodge a flamethrower attack, but at the same time it kinda looked like one of the attacks that the player used kinda homed to the enemy, so I wonder if you have to aim your attacks on the enemy as well. It will be interesting to see in future trailers. Maybe it could be balanced around the fact actually that some attacks always hit but they do less damage, and some attacks you have to aim to hit but they will do more damage. That will be quite interesting, IMO. They showed off the 3 starter Pokemon in the game, which will be Chikorita, Totodile, and Tepig. I've seen a lot of people complain online about these choices because most people don't like these Pokemon, and honestly these aren't really any of my favorites either, but I don't think it's that important to the quality of the game. Like if you really don't like the starters, you can always just catch something else. You're not forced to use them after all. But I do also assume that we're going to get some sort of new form of these starters. either new evolutions like Legends Arceus, or maybe new Mega versions of these Pokemon, since they're bringing back Mega Evolution in this game. Overall, I don't think this is a crazy evolution of the Pokemon franchise, unfortunately. It's more of the same, where it's a step in the right direction. I'm not fully sold on this game yet. I've decided to not just randomly buy the games since Sword and Shield, since I feel like I want a higher quality product from the amount of money they ask for these games. We'll see in future trailers if I feel like this game will be worth buying. And maybe next year we'll see an announcement for Pokémon Gen 10, which will most likely also be a small step in the right direction, but let's hope for the best, shall we?